I want to thank everybody for joining. My name is Dominic Turner. I'm the Chief Financial Officer here for Alexandria City Public Schools, and I'm joined by a couple of team members tonight. Robert, if you could introduce yourself and then toss it to the next member.
Good evening. My name is Robert Easley. I'm the Director of Budget for Alexandria City Public Schools, and I will pass it over to Ms. Erica Gulick.
Good evening. My name is Erica Gulick, and I'm the Director of Capital Programs Planning and Design. I will turn it over to Dr. Alicia Hart.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Alicia Hart. I am the Acting Executive Director for Facilities and Operations.
And lastly, I'd just like to introduce the Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Gregory Hutchins, Jr.
And thank you, Mr. Turner. I just wanted to, just thank everybody for your hard work and determination. As you all know, these are unprecedented times, and they have an impact on our finances and our budget. I think this is probably one of the most important fiscal years that we've had, and also the most challenging. So I just appreciate the hard work that the finance team, as well as our facilities and operations team, has been doing over the past several months. And I'm looking forward to some of the guidance and discussion that we're going to have this evening. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hutchins. We appreciate those kind words. Robert, if we can move on to the second slide. Tonight, everybody, we will be talking about the fiscal year 2022 combined funds budget and the fiscal year 2022 through 2031 capital improvement or CIP budget. The agenda for tonight, we would like to share with you all the impacts that the pandemic COVID-19 had on our budget. We want to tackle the present, how that impact has changed things for the fourth quarter of last year and then into the first quarter of this school year, and then just lay out some of our vision for the future and how we plan to accomplish that on both the combined funds budget as well as the capital improvement program budget. Lastly, we'll share a little bit of information about how you can get involved with the budget process here for ACPS. Next slide, please. So as everybody knows, we're in a global pandemic, COVID-19, and that has had several impacts on ACPS. For our budget for fiscal year 2021, which was adopted back in June of this year, we lost about $10.7 million in revenue. So that forced us to have to change our budget for this year by eliminating salary enhancements for staff. We had a targeted hiring freeze. We reduced non-personnel expenditures. And then to be able to operate during the fiscal year, we had to reallocate funding across several different categories to be able to support a virtual plus model, and then also be able to prepare for the long-term return eventually to on-site learning. On the capital improvement side, we had to defer projects of almost $100 million, and that was for the high school project, which was deferred. Next slide, Robert. So for our combined funds budget, that is 3 different funds: our operating fund, which is the largest portion, the grants and special projects fund, as well as the school nutrition fund. These 3 funds form our combined funds budget, which equals about $318.1 million. So to be able to remain nimble under this global pandemic, we had to be able to have both a short-term plan as well as a long-term plan for the use of our funds. So we were able to reallocate funding here in the first quarter to be able to support the Virtual Plus model. We received an initial allotment from our CARES fund of about $3.7 million, a portion of which had to go for equitable services for private schools. And then recently, another $2.8 million, which has to be obligated by the end of this calendar year. Those additional funds we've put to use to support our technology infrastructure, our meal distribution, bus and facility maintenance, as well as field social and emotional academic learning. Because of the unpredictability of this pandemic, both in the fourth quarter of last year as well as the first quarter of this year. We put in some adjusted purchasing procedures because we wanted to make sure we focused our purchasing on the essential items in ACPS, and those were defined as 4 areas, which I just mentioned: the steel, the facilities and bus maintenance, technology infrastructure, as well as meal distribution. We know that in the short term, when we decided to open up in the Virtual Plus model, we needed to be able to ramp up our technology infrastructure to be able to have computers or devices for all of our students, as that's our lifeline in our Virtual Plus. But we also have to have the eyes on the future for the recovery, and when we actually do return to on-site learning, to be able to have the funding to support increased cleaning and building improvements such as sneeze guards and PPE needed for staff. Next slide, Robert. So here I will turn it over to Dr. Alicia Hart to talk about how we're tackling some of the challenges on our capital improvement program.
Thank you so much, Mr. Turner. And as Dominic just alluded to, I'll be speaking to the capital improvement program and how we are dealing with our present day situation. As you can see that we have right now funding of $95.1 million for this year. And we will be focused specifically on our targeted facilities assessment, completion of our priority 1, 2, and 3 findings. So these assessments were completed in 2019. They were a limited assessment that addressed the most critical facility needs for 5 of our facilities, which resulted in these priority findings. Based on that, our last year and our current year CIP is focused on mitigating and responding to those priority findings. And we continue to tackle those items throughout this year's CIP, and I'm sure through future year CIP as well. Also wanted to briefly speak to the COVID impact for our CIP program. We do realize that while school closure had an impact on the instructional side of the house, it also impacted us from a project standpoint. Our closure allowed us to be able to advance some of our projects versus phasing in projects over multiple years, which is typically our process. And so some of the projects that we were able to advance this year included flooring installations, roof replacements, and some HVAC upgrades. And then we were also able to accomplish structural changes within the CIP, to include funding of 8 full-time employees within the CIP budget, and a realignment and reorganization of the Educational Facilities Office, which allowed for us to be able to better manage our CIP portfolio and maintenance program. Next slide, please. And I am turning it back over to Mr. Turner.
Thank you, Dr. Hart. So as we move from tackling our present challenges to trying to envision the future for ACPS when it comes to our budget, we understand that to run a school system the size of ACPS, we need to grow our resources. And when we have a global pandemic, obviously it kind of cuts down on what we have available to us. With most of our budget, 82 to 83% being funded from the City of Alexandria, anything occurring in the City of Alexandria has a huge impact to ACPS. But we've been looking outside of just the City of Alexandria to try to find those resources, such as the special education regional program that we entered last year, which brought about an additional $600,000 to be able to support our students with the greatest needs. Then we also want to ensure that we have a data-driven budget process. So last year we started with the school board, utilizing our Chief Accountability Officer, Clinton Page, to be able to run our school board budget priority setting. Each year, the school board sets our priorities for us at the beginning of the school year. We then use those to align to the strategic plan and then build our budget from there. We also have a very collaborative process. We meet with every principal of each school to work through their budget to determine what their needs are, to assist them with any financial management that they might need. And then lastly, we want to ensure that we are outcome seeking. So as we align our school board priorities with our strategic plan, We want to make sure that we're looking at the gaps in the student achievement data and putting the dollars behind items that will help, close those gaps or move the needle on student achievement. Next slide, Robert. So the school board budget priorities for the combined funds for fiscal year 2022 were aligned to our 5 strategic plan goals: strategic alignment, instructional excellence, student accessibility and support, strategic resource allocation, and family and community engagement. Each year, from the budget office standpoint, we like to use this forum as a way to connect to the community, to hear what you all would like to see ACPS do with its budget moving forward. Next slide, Robert. Turning it over to Ms. Erica Gulick to discuss how we're moving our capital improvement program forward.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. So as we look to develop the FY 2022 to 2031 capital improvement program budget, we are envisioning the future similarly to the combined funds budget, with a couple of different strategic components we'll be incorporating this year, including greater collaboration with the financial services department, as well as all departments across ACPS. Our capital improvement program budget is no longer just a facilities budget. It also includes budget items for transportation, technology, as well as curriculum and instruction with textbooks. We are establishing a process for having our facility conditions assessments, that's what FCA stands for, done on a recurring basis every 5 years. And we are kicking off that process this year to ensure we have the most up-to-date data and information on our buildings and their systems. We will also be improving our cost estimate accuracy by including the latest cost estimate information for construction. We have experienced inflation in recent years, and so just looking at what should our cost estimates for some, especially those new capacity projects, as well as some of those repair and replacement projects be going into the future, and accounting for some unforeseen conditions that we've experienced on recent projects. We will also be increasing our focus on our preventative maintenance program so that the assets which we spend our capital dollars on are maintained and fulfill the needs that they are intended to for their entire life cycle. Okay, go to the next slide, please. Similarly to the combined funds budget, the school board did set their CIP priorities in alignment with the ACPS 2025 strategic plan. Starting with systemic alignment, our CIP will focus on building upgrades, in particular, some of the major systems in our buildings, such as roofs, HVAC, building envelope, and safety and security. Related to instructional excellence, we will ensure that textbooks continue to be funded, as well as technology upgrades. For student accessibility and support, we will continue to focus on ADA projects, our transportation, and our playgrounds. And for strategic resource allocation.
Erica, I don't mean to cut you off. We're having a issue with the Zoom link for the attendees. Okay. Erica Duty, are you there?
I am. Apologize.
So I have people that are saying that they're waiting in they're joining now. So just a quick question. Were there people waiting in the waiting room?
There is no waiting room. This is a webinar, so it's more of a broadcast. Okay. It should have, that link that I just put into the chat is the correct link that people need to use to access.
Okay. Okay. Well, we're going to post this on the budget webpage for anybody to view in the community if they are joining late or had the wrong link to join. Erica, if you could continue, and we will post this presentation for the public to view on the budget webpage. Sorry to cut you off.
No problem. Thank you for that. So I will pick up where I left off, which was with the strategic resource allocation priority or focus area of the strategic plan. With that, we are associating our modernization and capacity projects, trying to continue to be strategic about our projects and ensure we're adding capacity, fixing failing building systems on existing sites to best use the resources we have. And finally related to family and community engagement, just ensuring we're adequately planning for future projects, that we're including the community and our families in that process, that we're of course being transparent and engaging for all of our CIP projects. So related to building the FY 2022 to 2031 capital improvement program, we have two major pieces to the capital improvement program. We call some projects capacity and others non-capacity. The capacity being our large replacement projects, our non-capacity being our roof replacement, HVAC replacement, transportation related, and those kind of expenditures. On the capacity side, some of what we will be doing in preparation for the FY 2022 to 2031 capital improvement program budget, we will be reevaluating the high school project budget and ensuring we have captured all costs we anticipate that we will see associated with that project. Though it won't be included in our budget necessarily, we will be evaluating co-location opportunities and having that discussion as part of the capital improvement budget development. We will incorporate information from the Cora Kelly and George Mason preliminary feasibility study into our CIP and ensuring those costs are also up to date. Just for the community to know, those feasibility studies were intended to be complete this past summer. However, they were put on hold due to COVID, the need to engage, and some additional information we are acquiring for those feasibility studies. Related to them, we will be talking about elementary swing space and whether that should be a consideration in our FY 2022 budget. We may defer the transportation facility replacement project due to the city's completion of their Witter-Wheeler study and that information being pending at this time. And we'll also be incorporating funds to complete the Patrick Henry project at the conclusion of the use of the old Patrick Henry site for swing space. On the non-capacity side, as Dr. Hart mentioned earlier, we will be using the targeted facilities assessments to continue to inform our prioritization of projects in our capital improvement program. We will also be looking at some of our major systems assessments as well as security assessments on what are the needs throughout the division. We'll be updating our kitchen and playground projects and need to acknowledge that there are fiscal constraints and some of these projects may need to be deferred. We will be looking into field upgrades for the displaced Mini Howard uses that may occur as a result of the high school project. As we do every year, we will be reevaluating and confirming all of our needs throughout the CIP in this coming budget season. And with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Robert Easley.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you so much. What I'd like to highlight is, as we've seen throughout this presentation, that the budgeting process is a year-end and a year-round process. And speaking on behalf of myself as a budget director, it seems like it never ends. Whether we're in the July through September quarter of strategic planning, where mostly senior management, the finance department, and the school board are planning and preparing for the budget process, or whether we're in the quarter of the October through December timeframe of which we're in now, and we're going through the budget planning, request, and approval process, whereby, as mentioned earlier, the engagement of the school principals, the department heads, as well as the community starts to get involved in this budget process. As you'll note on the right, you'll see there's a public hearing coming up in November. But again, as this process goes throughout the year, when we get to the January to March timeframe, we're looking at the superintendents preparing a proposed budget, as well as the school board reviewing that. That too is, again, an opportunity to engage the community in the budget process. And then as we continue on throughout this, we're into the school board's final and the adopted budget in the April and June timeframe, whereby once again, there's an opportunity to engage the community as well as the city council in the budgeting process for Alexandria City Public Schools. What I'd like to highlight, and what this slide does show, by the last three components that I highlighted, we talked about the community's engagement in this process, that this is not a process whereby it's only ACPS staff that is preparing this budget for the ACPS community, but it takes and it involves you. So on the right, you will see the particular key dates, as well as the first bullet where we highlight the budget calendar. So if you go to the ACPS website, under the Financial Services Department, and on the budget webpage, you'll find all of these key dates and a lot of key resources that will prepare you, to inform you, to educate you on this process and on the particular elements, whether it's the combined funds or the capital improvement program budget, but to provide you information and where you can learn more about what we do and how the school system operates, and more importantly, how you can get involved. The last thing I like to bring to your awareness is the school board's budget advisory committee. There is a citizen-led budget advisory committee that too also is part of this process. And so whether you're on the school board budget advisory committee or you're aware of and come to those quarterly meetings that are held by the budget advisory committee, there are ample opportunities for you to get involved in this budgeting process. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your participation in this presentation, and we are available and very happy and open to entertain any questions you may have thus far.
So we appreciate everybody joining us tonight on the Community Budget Forum. We understand that we did have a few technical difficulties there at the beginning, but we will be posting this presentation and this recording online for the community to be able to review and get involved at the public hearings. If you want to become a member of the Budget Advisory Committee, we'll be able to provide information for how you can attend those meetings and potentially work with the school board to possibly become a member in the future of that committee. I currently do not see any questions in the Q&A. So with that said, we will conclude our community forum for this year. We will post this recording online to the budget webpage for ACPS. And if you have any questions, please contact either myself, Dominic Turner, the Chief Financial Officer for Alexandria City Public Schools, or Mr. Robert Easley, the Director of Budget for the school system. Thank you.
And I'm ending the broadcast. Thank you all.